Matt, this is my low-key fight of the night. I'm so excited for this fight. Featherweight is on fire, and I said that about flyweight, but featherweight for me is one of the best divisions in the UFC. And in this fight, we have Andre Touchy-Fili, who has 27 professional fights. He's only 29 years old. He's been with the UFC for ages now, and he's taking on Montreal, Quebec, Canada's Charles Air Jourdain. And Matt, I could not be more excited about a Canadian prospect right now. And yes, we're from Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, and I might sound like a bit of a homer, but Charles Jourdain, of his 10 professional wins, all of them by finish, got a big win coming into the UFC over Damian Lapalus and TKO, comes into the UFC, loses to Desmond Green, who had a decent UFC career in his own right before he went away. And then in his last fight, he goes over to South Korea, fights Doo Ho Choi, the Korean Superboy. Everybody loves Doo Ho Choi. And that was a fight where Charles Jourdain was a big underdog. Matt, who did we pick in that fight?
We both picked Doo Ho Choi, and I believed I said by hellacious KO. And I thought I was right 30 seconds into the fight. He hurt Jourdain on multiple occasions, but here's the problem. Charles Jourdain has one of the great chins that I've ever seen, ate a whole bunch of bombs, and then came back and threw one of his own that absolutely flatlined Doo Ho Choi in an absolutely crazy fight.
And the crazy thing, too, he's 24 years old in this division. He's got a win over the Korean Superboy that so many people hold in so high regard. If you go into UFC 3, the video game, he's got like a 90 for striking. That's insane.
Really?
Those stats mean absolutely nothing to this prediction, but it's fun to say nonetheless. But he's taken on a really tough and tested veteran in Andre Fili. What can you tell me about this matchup?
So it's going to be an interesting fight, but I think it's going to come down to something that no one's talking about. I think Andre Fili is by far the better wrestler out of the two, and I do think we're going to see that at some point during this fight because for as good as Jourdain is, and like you said, his wins are by finishes, he can get it done on the ground, he can get it done on the feet. Andre Fili's not an easy fight for anybody, and he's one of those guys who, if you're looking at a prospect, and if they can beat Andre Fili, you're like, okay, they finally deserve to be in that top 15 space.
He's featherweight's John Dodson.
Oh, without a doubt. At his best, he can really beat anyone, I would say, outside of the top 10. He can beat anyone 15 to 10. But the issue is he's had a hard time with consistency in the UFC. And he's also just fought the absolute murderer's row the whole time he's been in the UFC. People forget he fought Max Holloway at UFC 172, which is such a long time ago for how young he is. And he can get it done in multiple ways, though. I think he kicks a lot better than Jourdain. Jourdain, primarily his power is in his hands.
Normally, Andre Fili uses his length quite well. He has a 5-inch reach advantage here, 2 inches of height, and normally he does it quite well. Sometimes he doesn't. That's where that inconsistency comes in. I just want to talk the odds quick. Jourdain, a plus 180 underdog. Andre Fili, minus 225 favorite. On Tapology, out of 498 votes, 78% going with Andre Fili to win, 63% predicting a decision. So I talked up Charles Jourdain, the fact that all of his wins by finish, this and that. Andre Fili has fought some really heavy hitters. So you talked about Max Holloway, but he's fought Calvin Kattar, he's fought Michael Johnson, and he's also fought in his last fight, Sadiq Youssef. The last time I checked, Kattar, Johnson, and Youssef could not finish him. And it was a split decision loss to Michael Johnson. You can say, well, what do we get out of Michael Johnson lately? Who knows? But still, it's such an interesting matchup, and there's so many different ways we could go into this fight. We could spend 25, 30 minutes just on this one fight. I'm not joking. But what's your final prediction? How do you see it playing out?
I think Fili's going to get it done by decision. I think the odds are kind of ridiculous, though. I do think the line should be quite a bit closer just because Jourdain does pose such a big threat, especially power-wise. And Fili can get hit when he gets his back up against the cage. You've seen that before. I mean, the Yair Rodriguez fight's a pretty good example. But here's my problem. Yair Rodriguez throws so many different weapons at you all the time. You're constantly thinking, okay, 360 spin kick, double kicks, all this crazy stuff. Jourdain's primarily coming at you with boxing combinations, but he doesn't have the speed that Calvin Kattar did, for instance, when he fought Andre Fili. Calvin Kattar just kept on going forward, through those really good boxing combinations. You're like, oh, wow, that was really impressive. Jourdain has the power of Kattar, I think. He doesn't have the technique and the speed of Kattar. So I do think Fili's going to be able to at least time takedowns based off the boxing combinations of Jourdain, or keep him on the distance with his kicks, with his jab, and somehow find a way to get the decision win. This year fight of the night, though, without a doubt.
Donnez-moi le Canadien. Give me the Canadian here in this fight, and I'll explain to you why. These knockout artists aren't knocking out Andre Fili, but they're following a blueprint to beat Andre Fili. And as long as Charles Jourdain can keep it standing and getting close, and he can at least hit him and kind of wake him up to the power that he has, He should be able to get it done in this one. You talked about it, the boxing advantage. And that's one of those things. If you can just keep the pressure going towards Andre Fili, don't let him set up and do not let him take you to the ground. He should be able to get the win here. So I'm going to go with the plus 180 underdog, Matt, and Charles Jourdain. You're going to go with the favorite in Andre Fili. But Matt, this is my favorite fight. But don't stop there. We've got a lot of really good fights left on this card. 2 minutes for the rest of the main card, 2 minutes for the prelims. Yes, we go over a lot of the time, and 5 minutes for Ian Calvillo. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, Matt. As we always say, let's get in.
Let's get in.